Hello, everybody. It is Frances, and I see there's a number of you online. I'm really excited to have you here and for us to talk all about our Moroccan trip that is coming up in just a few weeks. First thing I wanted to do is point out the comments section. So just probably in that direction is a live stream comment box. If you could post in there your name and where you're from, that will tell me that A, you can all hear me, and B, that we are all set up. And usually it takes 5 to 10 seconds for that to happen. So there should be a comment box just over to the right of the screen. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to go through, hey, Charles, this is great. So I'm going to go through today all of the details about our trip. I am so excited. I was in Morocco this time last year in November and absolutely loved it. And great, Mike and Robbie, Alexis and Paula and Mermaid PEI. I love it. Mike and Robbie are in Edmonton. So we've got a great group. So while we're going, you can type any questions in there. I'll be watching it. I can see it. So if I'm looking this way, that's what I'm doing. We will just move through the presentation. If there's quick questions that I can answer as I'm going, I will do that. Otherwise, I'll just go through at the end and make sure I've answered all of your questions because this is a really new country to a lot of us. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to talk about is your travel documents. So about an hour and a half ago, I sent you an email that was your electronic itinerary. You can look at that by clicking on it and just looking at it on the web on your computer, or by downloading an app called the Trip Plans app. Now, before I go too far, I do want to tell you that you will get a copy of this presentation and all the links are clickable. So you'll be able to go in and click on these links here to download the apps that I'm talking about or to get any additional information. So that's all going to be there. And here's my puppy, that's Halo, and he's going to come and say hi a few times during the session, I'm sure. So that your electronic itinerary is in your Trip Plans app. And when I get the travel documents from G Adventures, I will add them there. I will also add your flight information to, I'm just seeing that we've got a logo that I don't want up. There we go. There we go. I will also add your flight details into the Trip Plans app. You can view that offline or online. Leave it online for right now until we're traveling. And then if you want to just have it with you and save some space or save some data, you can do that. In there is going to be our full itinerary, which is always subject to change, our hotels, photos of our hotels, all of that kind of stuff. We're going to go through that today, but if you want more details, it's all going to be in there. The other app I'd encourage you all to download, if you haven't already, is the Air Canada app, if you're flying on Air Canada, which I think we all are. And the Air Canada app has so many tools. It's one of the world's leading airline apps, believe it or not. But it gives us so much information and will let you know if our flights are on time. It will help track your luggage. It will remind you to check in, all of those things. If you haven't given me your Aeroplan number or you haven't seen your Aeroplan or if your Aeroplan number doesn't appear to be affiliated with your ticket, let me know and I can add that for you. That will give you at least Wi-Fi on domestic flights, and it's just good to get the points. So those are the two apps. So the first thing is, and this is not our flights, this is just a sample from another trip. But as a reminder, you can check in 24 hours prior to your flight. Most of us are on the same international flight. There's Robbie, Mike, Aiden, and Rachel are on a different flight to us. They're going a few days early, staying a few days later. But the rest of us are on the same international flight. We're all on different domestic flights. There's some of us coming from PEI, some of us coming from Ontario, some of us coming from Moncton. So just 24 hours prior to your flight, you can check in, and recommend doing that on the app. You can get your boarding passes that way as well. You can add them to your wallet, all of those kinds of things if you would like to do that. So to check in, there will be a 6-digit number or code. It's usually letters, sometimes numbers, but usually letters, that will be your booking reference. And I'll make sure that's really clear when I upload your flights to your electronic itinerary, and then you use your last name. So those two things you should be able to check in, no problem. I think we've selected seats for most of you. If we haven't and you would like to select seats in advance, there can be a fee. It just depends on the kind of ticket you have. Or you can select seats or change your seats 24 hours prior to check-in. So the thing I want you to check on all of your airline tickets, whether you book them, whether we book them, is that your name matches your passport. I want all the letters there. I want them in the right order. I don't really care about spaces or punctuation. So if you're Alexis O Triantaflu and not with an apostrophe, I don't care about the apostrophe, but make sure all the letters are there in the right order and they need to match your passport. So my name, Frances K. Gertch, all of those letters need to be there. And I know that seems really simple, but you would be surprised at how many people don't actually know what name is on their passport and they book tickets otherwise. So we just need to make sure that that's going to save us a lot of hassle. So that's the first thing, is checking into our flights 24 hours prior. So those of us that are on the same flights, I just grabbed the ones from Charlottetown. So for some of you, this first flight and this last flight will be different, but the rest of it is the same. So once we meet in Montreal, we've got a fairly long layover. If you have access to Air Canada Lounge, that's a great option for you. The other option is that I don't even think there's a paid lounge in Montreal. I'll double check that and add that to your electronic itinerary. So if you are going through Montreal and you want a lounge, we can take a look at that, what options there are. Maybe you have a credit card that provides access, those kinds of things. And then on the way back, we don't have that long in Frankfurt by the time we get there and get organized, and we're going to be tired. That's going to be a tough flight on the way home because it starts at 2:30 in the morning. And so we'll be at the airport by 11:30 the night before, and then head on the flight. We'll probably sleep, hopefully, and then just move through our trip and get home the same day. So those are our flights. Sorry, this should say Morocco, not Spain and Portugal. But you want to make sure your passport is valid for the entire duration. And we do recommend your passport is valid for at least 6 months after the date of our return. So 6 months from November would be December, January, at least until May 15th of 2026. And if it's not, you still have time, believe it or not, to get a new passport, but really recommend that it's valid for at least 6 months. You can bring a copy, whether it's a photo that you email yourself, whether it's a photocopy that you put in your suitcase. Don't carry it with your passport. That can help at times if you lose your passport or it gets stolen and you need to talk to the embassy to replace it. It's nice to have that. So that's really important. And when we arrive in Casablanca, I saw this happen 3 times. So I'm giving you the heads up that once we get to the passport control section, we'll go through a bit of an S to get to the lines. Once you're in line at one of the kiosks, don't switch lines. They started yelling at everybody that was doing that. They were trying to get shorter lines and so on and so forth. So once you're in one of those lines, just stay put. We're going to wait for everybody on the other side. So there's no panic, but just don't get yelled at your first few minutes in Morocco. We don't want that for everybody. So then the next thing, we all have travel insurance, and with Manulife, I believe, almost all of us. And so the policy number that you have on your policy is right up here, and it's a VAC number. And when you take that, you're going to want to register your flights with Blink or with Manulife travel insurance. So the website is right here. It's Manulife or flightassist@manulife.com. What this gives you is that if our flight is delayed by 3 hours or more, you will get $40 per person e-transferred to you. If it's delayed by another 3 hours, so a total of 6 hours, or canceled, you'll get another 100, so a total of $140. It's really just inconvenience money. It doesn't replace your trip interruption coverage that you have, but it does give you enough to buy a lounge pass or go get a glass of wine or have a meal or what have you when you're dealing with the inconvenience of a flight delay. So it's basically free money if it happens, so it's a good thing to do. And you'll need that VAC number that I showed you to be able to do that. If you've traveled with us before and you've registered your flights before, you should have an account on flightassistmanulife.com. If you have any issues or questions, let me know and I can give you a hand there. The last thing, I can add Mike to this list, is you're good to go. So I sent those of you who hadn't completed it yet a reminder today. So if you haven't completed your good to go, please get yourself good to go. You have to fill in this information. And then you should get this, congratulations, you're good to go. Whoops, don't want that slide yet. Hold on. There we go. You should get that. And this needs to be completed by Thursday of this week, if you can. So hopefully we can add everyone's name to the list by Thursday. If you're having any issues, mine was having an issue accepting my flights when I did it. So just let me know and I'll see what I can do to help. The one thing that you have to do on your own is this medical information section. And then I can help you with the rest if that's needed. But please make sure we have that done by this Thursday. And the next thing I wanted to start talking about, there's 3 pieces to G Adventures that are a little bit different than other travel companies. First, they're a Canadian company, and they were started in Toronto by a guy named Bruce Poontip, who maxed out 2 credit cards, and now we have G Adventures 25 years later. Really an incredible company and really focused on community tourism. And one of the things that's really cool about G Adventures is something called a Ripple score. So they give all of their trips a Ripple score, and that number, which is a score out of 100, represents how much of the money that they invest in operating that tour is local, stays locally. And the tour that we're doing has a Ripple score of 100. So I'm just going to play a short 1-minute video to tell you a little bit more about responsible tourism and the Ripple score that our trip is.
When you go on vacation, no matter which tour you take, each place you visit requires local expenses. From the hotels to the restaurants, even down to a bike rental. But did you know, with some other types of travel, as little as 10% of that money stays in the communities you visit? Instead of benefiting the locals, it's like 90% of those traveler dollars were never there. But what can we do about this? We start keeping score on all of our trips. And we work together as one team, because when we do, you can see the ripple effect beginning in communities and spreading to the rest of the travel industry. To start, we've done the math for our own trips. Now our tours all have a Ripple score that rates how well we're keeping those local expenses local. When you see this, you'll know just how often we've chosen local businesses or services to create this tour. If the Ripple score is high, you'll know that's a great trip, creating a greater ripple effect for the locals who call each destination home. Otherwise, it's still a great trip, but we have some work to do to make the local benefit even better. The G Adventures Ripple Score, our way of helping travelers, locals, and communities so everyone wins.
So there you have it. A little bit about the Ripple score, and our tour has a Ripple score of 100. So now we're going to talk a little bit about our actual itinerary. And it is a busy itinerary, and we're going to see lots and lots of Morocco, and I am thrilled. So this first picture is a picture of, this is the Medina in Fez, which we'll see right near the beginning of our tour. And this is Ville Nouvelle, which is the new city and the new town. For any of you who do speak French, there is, and I am bilingual, but there is a lot of French in Morocco, and that comes from the time of the French who basically took over Morocco and operated the government there. And as of now they're actually switching the second official language from French to Berber and to English. So the French culture or the French language in Morocco will stay with people who learned it in school, but it's going to fade, I think, which is a little bit too bad. So on the first day, we are going to arrive at the Casablanca airport, and we will be transferred from the airport to our hotel. We're staying at the Khan Casablanca. And I've tried to put some photos of the hotels. Most of them are quite modern and really, really nice. And I think we'll all be very comfortable. And so we have the afternoon and evening at leisure, and we want to try and stay up. My recommendation is always try and stay up until 9 o'clock on the day you arrive. That will help you with jet lag and getting over your jet lag. It can be challenging. I have made a reservation at a restaurant called Misty, which is at our hotel on the rooftop. So that is at 6:30. So that will hopefully help us stay awake a little bit. And that dinner is on your own, but we can all dine together and get to know each other a little bit. And then there's a few things that we can do that afternoon. This top photo is a photo of Arab League Park, which is really close to our hotel. It's this beautiful manicured urban park. There's also the Arts Villa, which is really close, and that's a free gallery that's got some, I don't know what the exhibits are going to be, but I really enjoyed spending about an hour there and checking out all of the exhibits. So lots of free time on that first day. On the second day, we have a free day in Casablanca. And so we are arriving a day before our tour, and that was on purpose because our tour doesn't spend time in Casablanca itself. And so I'm arranging a half-day tour of Casablanca. It will start so we'll go for lunch, and then our guide will meet us. It will probably start around 1:30. He's got a tour that goes until 1, and then he's going to meet us right after that. And his name is Abdallah. And then we will meet with our CEO. It's probably closer to 6:30 or 7 o'clock once we all get back. And we're going to see all sorts of parts of Casablanca. We're going to see the outside of Rick's Cafe, which is famous for the movie, United Nations Square, which is quite close to where we are, also known as Pigeon Square. No, I lie. That's a different square. But there is a square called Pigeon Square as a nickname. The Quartier Habous, the Medina. And we're going to go into this beautiful mosque. And this is one of the largest in Northern Africa, if not the largest. I think it's the second largest on the continent. And it's absolutely beautiful. And so you'll want to bring a scarf, ladies, for that trip. We'll be asked to take off our shoes when we go in. You'll put them in a bag and it all gets stored. And then out of respect, we'll cover our hair. So that day, we should all be wearing, and throughout our trip, I'll talk about this, but we should always have our shoulders and our knees covered. That goes for men and women. And for the women, if we go into mosques or other religious sites, covering your hair out of respect is sort of what is the norm. Now, when I went last time, our guide didn't even cover her hair. So it's really up to you how you want to participate or not participate in that custom. But certainly that is something that most women would do if they go into that mosque. So that's going to be a great busy day. Then we'll meet with our CEO at the hotel. I will remind you of this, but at that meeting, he may want to see the proof of our insurance. So I will bring copies of insurance for all of you that bought it from me. And I think there's one person who didn't, and I have a copy of that policy as well. So I will have that all with me. You don't have to worry about that. And then we'll go through the itinerary and all of those kinds of things, and then we'll have dinner. So lots of food on our first day, and breakfast is included at our hotel, and it's included every day throughout the tour. So this is the tour. So we're going to spend a night here. And then the next day we're going to stop in Meknes and go straight to Fez. Then we have 2 nights and we'll go through, the nights. But this is essentially the circle we're doing. And then at the end, we have a transfer for those of us on the group flights back from Marrakesh to Casablanca, where we'll catch our flight home. And that was because of the flight schedule. So the day 2, so we're now on November 7th. We are going to go from Casablanca to Fez. Now we are covering a lot of Morocco, not all of Morocco, but a lot of Morocco, and we have some big days. And we are going to be in a van or a minibus that will take us all. But we have some long days, and those of you with long legs, Alexis, Brenda, there's a few of you that are tall, Mike, we're going to have to try and make you as comfortable as possible. It might be a little bit cramped in terms of legroom, but we will do our best to rotate seats and make sure everybody is comfortable. We are going to be in the car 7 to 8 hours that day. We will stop for a couple of hours at Volubilis and at Meknes, which are two ancient cities. And then we're stopping for about an hour and a half at the Afro Association Community Lunch. So G Adventures partners with an organization called Planetara. And this is a second way that we're contributing to community tourism during our trip. So let's take a look.
The choices you make when you travel, like where you eat, where you shop, and where you stay, make ripple effects through the communities you visit. At Planetara, we want to ensure every ripple is a positive one. Planetara is dedicated to uplifting communities through travel, making sure the money spent in destinations remains where it's needed most, in the hands of local people. And we know when women, youth, and community members are given the ability to earn an income, they invest it in their own backyards. They invest it in ways that protect the environment, promote education and healthcare for all, celebrate Indigenous cultures, empower and employ women, and that's only the beginning. But all too often, local people are left without the means to invest in their businesses, market themselves to travelers, and successfully grow. Lack of access to training and resources leaves community tourism experiences unable to see sustainable success. That's why Planetara created the Global Community Tourism Network. The network seeks to change the face of travel by putting communities at the center of tourism. It's breaking down barriers with online training, new opportunities for peer-to-peer support, and opening doors to more travelers and travel companies by magnifying the success we've had over the last 10 years, using tourism to support community development. So join us and help change millions of lives and thousands of communities by helping make the tourism industry a little more fair and a lot more impactful. Because travel isn't just fun for you, it can be life-changing for everyone. Help us turn travel into impact.
Now I have to figure out how to get back to my presentation. There we go.
The choices you make when you travel.
Hold on. Where are we? There we go. Thank you for bearing with me. All right, so we are going to be stopping at the Afro Women's Association Home Lunch. And this is a Planetara project where 9 women have been directly employed in this initiative, and there are 54 community members that are benefiting. They've been able to run the local ambulance service. They've been able to help assistance with differently abled individuals who are living in the community. They've got 19 different literacy groups and 5 sewing cooperatives, which is pretty amazing. And not only are we making a small donation to Planetara as part of your tour fee, but we're also supporting Planetara and the Afro Women's Association. Afro stands for Association des Femmes et des Enfants, so Association of Women and Children, rural women and children. So we get to support them by going and having lunch with them and really interacting with some very, very driven individuals. So I'm looking forward to that. So the next day, so we're staying in Fez that night. We're staying at the Nor Plaza Hotel, and now it's November 8th, and we are going to go to the famous Medina in Fez, which is incredible. There's, I think, 120,000 people that live in the Medina, and there are so many handicrafts. There's so much fresh food. It's really going to be, it's truly an experience that lights up your every sense that you have, the smells, the tastes, the everything. So we will see the leather tannery. We're going to see all sorts of things. There's camels and there's food and there's all sorts of things. Sorry, that's my puppy who's decided to participate today. And then we will also have the opportunity later in the day to go into the new town in Fez if you want to do that. Exploring the Medina can be very chaotic. And so you will have lots of sounds and smells, like I said, but it's also hard to get in and out of there without a guide. So we will have a guide that will take us into the Medina. And this will probably be one of the first nights that we hear all of the mosques and the imams doing the call to prayer, which happens, I think, 4 times a day. And is absolutely magical. And in Morocco, that call to prayer cannot be recorded. It's actually illegal. And so when you hear the call to prayer, it's actually an imam in the mosque doing the call to prayer at that moment. And it happens at the same time across all the mosques. And it's really quite incredible to hear. On our next day, we have another very long driving day, and we're going through the Atlas Mountains. So we're heading from Fez to Merzouga, and we're going through the Atlas Mountains, and we're going to end up at the Sahara Desert, which is pretty incredible. This is the pool at our hotel down here at the bottom. So we're right on the edge of the Sahara Desert, which is going to be absolutely incredible. This is our next day. We will be going into the Sahara by 4x4 to explore Erg Chebi, which is part of the Sahara Desert. We're going to meet local people, some local musicians, some Berbers. We're going to drink mint tea. You will drink a lot of mint tea. And I thought, I'm not a tea girl, I'm a coffee girl, but I was addicted to Moroccan mint tea by the time I left. So this hotel's a little bit simpler, but we've got to remember we're right on the edge of the Sahara Desert, and it's still going to be an incredible, incredible experience. So that's that day. So that was another 2 nights. And then the next day we're going from Tingir to Ouarzazate, depending on how you say it. And we're going to go through the Dades Gorge, which is this gorge right here. So take your gravel if you do get carsick like me. We're going to drive the route of 1,000 Kasbahs and visit one of the Kasbahs as well. And then we're going to have a guided tour of Ouarzazate. And you will have the option to visit a Berber herbalist. And that's, it's optional, but it could be really, really interesting to see how they use herbs and other things to help people feel better for wellness. So then the next day, we're going from Ouarzazate to Marrakesh. So this is our last long drive. We're going to visit Ait Ben Hadou, which is this, the top image that you see. So I don't know the story, but I'm looking forward to learning about it. This is a part of the country that I didn't get the chance to visit. We're going to go through the high Atlas Mountains this time, so lots of elevation. And then when we get to Marrakesh, late afternoon, early evening, we will have free time. And we're staying at the Grand Plaza in Marrakesh. And now, when I was in Marrakesh last time, we did not stay here. And I told my guide where we would be staying, and he went, "Ooh la la, this is one of the nicer hotels in Marrakesh." And it's really interesting, I found last time, to start your trip in Casablanca and in Marrakesh and just to see the difference between the 2 cities, because they are very, very different places. So looking forward to seeing that contrast as well. The next day in Marrakesh, we'll have a cooking class. Every good trip to Morocco needs to have a tagine cooking class. This top picture was my group was responsible for the vegetable tagine, and that was the vegetable tagine we made, it was so good. And another group made a chicken tagine, and another group made a lamb tagine while we were there. We'll also have the time to go to the Marrakesh market. Hopefully we can go in the evening as well. And that's that photo below. It's just buzzing. And it was another incredible Medina experience. All of the Medinas are different from one another. So it's really, really interesting. Lots of opportunities for us to do some other things in Marrakesh. And our CEO, our Chief Experience Officer, our tour guide, will be able to help us with all of those kinds of experiences and guide us on where to go and how to be safe when we do it. So that's really exciting. Marrakesh is a really great city. And we have free time in Marrakesh in the morning and part of the afternoon. We probably won't leave for Marrakesh until middle to late afternoon on the 14th. And we're going to have lots and lots of time in Casablanca, so at the airport. So bring your book, get ready to be comfortable, but that's where we'll be. The third piece of traveling with G Adventures is something called Trees for Days. And so by traveling with G Adventures on this trip, our group will plant 108 trees, 1 tree per person per day of the tour. And that's done in partnership with Planetara and the Reforest Foundation. And there's a very cool women's cooperative in Morocco that participates in Trees for Days. And they have, they started with something like 10,000 trees the very first year. And now they do 240,000 trees, seeds, olive, carob, fig, and pomegranate trees that they create the seeds for every year and get those planted. So pretty incredible to have another positive impact as we travel. So now let's get into some of the details. And this is where you may start to have some questions. So please put them in the chat, and I'm going to try and watch the chat while I'm talking as well. So Morocco is on Central European time. It's 5 hours ahead of PEI, 6 hours ahead of Ontario, 8 hours ahead of Alberta. The daytime temperature, when I was there, I was wearing a t-shirt and, capris for my trip. It was, 20, low 20s, even warmer some days. And then it cooled down at night. And when we're in the mountains and when we're in the desert, it's going to be cooler at night. So I will be bringing a down vest with me. I don't think I'm going to need anything more than that. But if I'm chilly, I want something to wrap up in. So make sure you have lots of layers so you can layer up if it is cool when we're in the mountains and in the desert, and then when we're not, that you can peel off and have, a t-shirt or what have you. We may get a little bit of rain, probably not a lot of rain, although November is one of the wetter months in Morocco. It is possible that we get a little bit of snow when we're in the mountains at this time of year, but if it doesn't drop right to 0, we're not going to get snow, obviously. So just be prepared, bring a rain jacket, have some layers, but really we're dealing with really nice, warm, sunny weather, which I loved last year. So now let's talk about clothing. And I know this is a question for some of you, and this is probably the first Islamic country for many of you. And so the dress code is really to dress modestly. I probably wouldn't wear a shirt like this that has a bit of a V-neck where I'm showing my chest. I will wear t-shirts that cover my shoulders, my chest, and my knees. Obviously, my t-shirt won't cover my knees. I can hear Alexis right now making a remark, but I will probably wear capris or long pants most of the time. So that's the first thing. Women, I also encourage you to bring a scarf with you. I have a very light crepe. I got 4 of them for $20 or something on Amazon. They're sort of a crepey material, but they cover my head nicely and they weren't hot to wear. So that is something that I bring and will bring with me or have available in my day pack and that kind of thing. So really it's about modesty and being respectful in the culture. You want to also be comfortable. We're not going to have any fancy dress nights. We may go out for dinner one night in Marrakesh. There's a really nice restaurant that I went to, which could be an option for one night. But we're not planning on anything really fancy. So, maybe a nice top that you can wear with a pair of trousers or something is all you need. You don't have to be fancy. Men, a short sleeve button up would be perfectly fine. A golf shirt would be perfectly fine. But we're not doing anything too fancy. We will be walking, especially when we're in the Medinas, like in Fez, and when we're out in the desert. Yes, we're going by 4x4, but you want to be comfortable. So happy feet make a happy traveler. They don't just make happy camper. So really make sure that the shoes that you have are comfortable and they're good for walking some distance. I'll talk about electricity in a minute. Prescriptions, please make sure that you carry your prescriptions in your original bottles with a label, and please, please, please pack them in your carry-on and have them on your person when you're traveling. Our bags will be coming with us, and we'll talk about luggage in a second. But if you need them during the day, make sure they're in your day bag. Liquids, the same rules apply as always. You can bring anything more than 100 mils has to go in your check bag, and anything under 100 mils you can put in a 1 liter Ziploc bag. I don't think I have any really handy. But a medium-sized freezer Ziploc, brand Ziploc is about 1 liter, and a little bit sturdier than the bags that you can get at the airport. You may want a small first aid kit with the kinds of things like Gravel or Advil, Polysporin that you would normally use. Really encourage you to bring hand sanitizer and wipes. There is not always running water at the roadside stops where we stop to use the bathroom. And even pack a small roll of toilet paper, especially for the women, not always available or you have to pay for it. So if you bring it with you and have it in your day bag, you've just got what you need. We will be talking about, we did talk that it could be quite nice and you may want sunscreen, a hat, lightweight shirt, that kind of thing to keep the sun off, especially in the desert. In the desert too, if you've got a scarf while we're driving, it will be very dusty. And so you may want to put that over your face to help keep the dust out. Bring a rain jacket. And just a reminder about cannabis, no cannabis products. It's illegal to carry cannabis products. That's oil, that's edibles, that's, marijuana of any kind, no cannabis products across the border. And if you are a smoker, there will be a limit on the number of cigarettes you can bring in. The last thing I want to talk about is anti-theft. There are pickpockets in the Medinas, and you will need to be conscious of what you have with you. I'd really encourage everyone, I'll just show you the kinds of, so this is the bag that I often will take with me. The nice thing about this bag is that I can clip the zippers shut, and this clips as well right here. So I don't know if you can see that that's got a clip. There's also wire in the strap, so you can't slice it. And there's metal mesh in the bag itself, and you can't slice it. So I bring this, and it's always in front of me. I don't have anything behind me. So you will need to be quite cautious in some of the Medinas. The other thing that you will want is a phone tether. And so what does happen in Morocco is if you're just standing there looking at your phone, there's a lot of motorcycles. Someone will just come and grab it out of your hand and be gone, and you won't be able to catch them. And so having a clip where you have your phone on your wrist, around your neck, is really, really important. The other thing I found, I'm out of breath here. The other thing I found was that I really like to have an extra battery for my phone when we were out during the day, especially when we're on those long, long drives, because your phone may not last the whole time, especially if you're taking lots of pictures or scrolling on your phone. So think about an extra battery as well. If you click on this link, you'll find a link to our Amazon shop. So that purse that I just showed you and a few other things are there that might be helpful. And we're going to talk about packing because we have to pack quite light on this trip. So we have to fit all of our luggage in the vehicle with us. And so they recommend that we bring one backpack, soft-sided suitcase, or sports bag of a maximum of 15 kilos. So normally on an airline, you can bring 23 kilos. So we need to pack light, and soft-sided bags are recommended. So I have a black one of these that I've had forever. I think it's 35 liters or something, but it's plenty for a trip like this, and a day pack. So this would be the kind of thing that I will bring, and that I recommend to all of you bring as well. I'd also like to see everybody put an air tag or a tile inside your luggage to make sure we can track it as it goes. I also put one in my day bag. So all of my bags, my backpack, my purse, my suitcase, so that if they go missing, I can hopefully find it. So recommend that. The other thing, please make sure you have your name on the outside and the inside of all of your bags. That's also really important. So let's talk about currency. So we are going to a country with that operates on dirhams. So the Moroccan dirham, and I may actually have some dirhams in the drawer behind me. Let me just take a look super quickly. I've got all sorts of currency here. So these right here are dirhams. So it's 100, that's a 200, look like this. I don't know what else I have here. And I have some 20s. These are not the same as a dollar, right? So there's a 20 as well. You will have to order dirhams at the bank in advance, and it will take up to a week for them to get them in. It's not a common currency, especially in a little place like PEI, free to get. So recommending that you bring that you will spend about 4,000 dirhams on the trip. And that's for lunch and dinner that are not included. And in the markets. So you will find that cash is king. You can use cards at restaurants. So I wouldn't necessarily say you want to withdraw and carry around 4,000 dirhams, but just something to think about. And one Canadian dollar is about 6.5 dirhams. So that's an option. Visa and MasterCard are fairly widely accepted. Sometimes you do have to put the card in, not tap, but it's still fairly widely accepted at places like restaurants and that kind of thing. You are not going to get a credit card at the Medina, those kinds of things. At some of the bigger places like the leather tannery and that kind of thing, or if we go to the tile shop, that stuff, yes, they're used to tourists. They want to sell you, so they have credit cards, but you're going to want to have cash with you. There are ATMs, and our CEO will help us understand which ATMs are safe to use or recommended. And I haven't used the Wise card in Morocco, but a Wise card is essentially a prepaid card, like a debit card that you can load up with other currencies. And I know a lot of people who use them, and you can put it on your phone and use it, just tap however you want. So that could be another option as well if you don't want to deal with currency exchanges on your credit card. The last thing I'm going to suggest is this app called the XE Currency Converter. So when you're dealing with weird currency exchanges like this, 1 to 6, 1 to 6.5, it's nice to have a quick converter so you can actually know how much you should be paying. You will pay more if you're paying in US and Canadian than if you pay in dirhams. So just think about that as well. All right, food and drink. There The food in Morocco is incredible. I was pleasantly surprised by the amazing food that we had. So let's go through the meals of the day and then some foods to try. So really, breakfast, a typical Moroccan breakfast would be a coffee and a pastry. In our hotels, there will probably be a breakfast buffet, breakfast buffet that will have a fairly Americanized breakfast. Make sure you have the orange juice because it is incredible. So many of our oranges, mandarins come from Morocco, and they're so good. So that's something to think about. At lunch and dinner, there's a lot of couscous, tagine. So tagine is the pot, the triangular shaped pot. We'll see them everywhere. Really, the pot is called the tagine, but that clay pot, this would be a chicken tagine here, where they put in the meat, the vegetables, olives, lemon, that kind of thing. And they just roast it, traditionally over coals. And it is this slow roasted, tender as anything, delicious meal. So make sure you won't get away from Morocco without having tagine. And the food in Morocco is not spicy. I was expecting spice. It's more sweet and savory, but it's not spicy. And I really enjoyed that. Brochette is another one. So it's just skewers of barbecued meat. Pastilla, which is this, it can also be spelled B''Stila, which is essentially a pasty with meat. Traditionally, it's pigeon, but we would typically see it at a restaurant with beef, lamb, or chicken. And then harira, which is this up here. Harira is a soup with chickpeas, beef, lamb, chicken, and lots of fresh seafood. So amazing, amazing, amazing. I also wanted to point out this is a typical starter, and they call this salads. So they will have a whole bunch of different things for you to try. Usually it's 7, and I'm sure 7 has a significance. We'll have to find out. But it's 7 salads, and it's just an opportunity to sort of have a few bites, a amuse-bouche, and before you start your meal. So that's if you see that come out, that's pretty typical. Other foods that you may want to try are the orange juice I talked about. Snails are quite a delicacy. Kab el Gazelle is a crescent-shaped cookie. It's called the Horn of Gazelle, and that's something that is pretty typical. Mint tea, and they love it with lots of sugar. So mint tea with fresh mint in the teapot. And they pour that water. There's a whole system to how they do it, so it's not bitter, and it is really lovely. Camel cheese is something that I have not yet tried. Chabakia cake and gariba, which are some almond cookies, round almond cookies. And just a word about alcohol. So alcohol is not illegal, but consumption is restricted, and it's not common. It's not a common thing. So you won't see a lot of alcohol at restaurants where tourists typically travel. There will be alcohol on the menu, but it's not something our guide may not drink at all. And please be aware that drinking in public places, so taking a traveler or sitting in a park and having a drink, is really taboo. So it's illegal, it's disrespectful. So you may not even need to have a drink on this trip. I'm not saying you shouldn't. You can absolutely have a drink when it's available, but it may not be as available as you're used to. And that's just something about traveling that we all adjust to the customs of a new place. So I know because we're going to a bit of a different country, we want to talk about health and safety. And I've talked about some of this already. So I will ask you all to drink bottled water. We can do this 2 ways. You can bring a refillable water bottle, and we can buy big jugs to refill, or you can just buy 1 liter jugs, what have you. There'll be lots of opportunity to buy water, but please use it for drinking and for brushing your teeth. No special vaccinations required in Morocco, but if you do have specific questions about your health and vaccines, or whether you want to take something for traveler's diarrhea or anything like that, please talk to a local health clinic. Here in PEI, there's one at Sobeys in Stratford, and a Friendly Pharmacy are two that I would recommend. Sean in Stratford and Matthew at Friendly are both excellent. Bring hand sanitizer and a small roll of toilet paper for the roadside stops. Not saying that you're going to need it all the time. There are typically Western toilets everywhere. You will find at some of the roadside stops that there may be one stall with a Western toilet and three pit toilets that you would squat at. So just something to be prepared for. And you may have to pay for toilet paper if you don't have your own. So just a couple of things to bring with you. Not that it's a lot different, but you do need to be a bit more cautious than you would perhaps walking in downtown Charlottetown around pickpocketing and theft. We talked about that. So think about an anti-theft bag. If you've got a backpack, don't put your valuables in the backpack. And if you have an anti-theft one, even better. When you're in the Medina, you may want to wear it on your front. Don't put your wallet in your back pockets. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. And the phone tethers, this is just an example of one here, where you put this piece into your case and then you clip on to whatever the tether is that you're using that day. So, and you can get those on Amazon as well. Tipping is pretty commonplace in Morocco. Leaving a few dirhams on the table, or about 10% of your bill, is pretty typical for good service. We'll probably give about 300 dirhams per person to the CEO for the tipping kitty to help tip all of the local guides and what have you that we meet. So bring some dirham to that welcome meeting on the first day, and then we can pay right there. But that's how tipping will work. So typically we'll tip as a group. At the end, please consider tipping our CEO, and what's typically recommended and generally expected is $8 to $10 US a day. So we're there for 9 days, so about $100 US for our CEO. So you can tip that in dirham or in US dollars if you prefer, but local currency is always better. And then a couple of other times that we'll tip that won't be included in the kitty and won't be with our CEO are our tour guide in Casablanca. We'll each want to give him a couple of dirhams. Any arrival or departure transfer drivers and housekeeping staff at your hotel. This is a question I get all the time, and I will remind you that it's totally at your discretion. These are just some guidelines to help you along the way. And if you have questions, you can ask me or our CEO while we're traveling. Let's talk about Wi-Fi. So our hotels will generally have Wi-Fi, all of them, available in your room and throughout. There may be a code, just like here in Canada. To have cell service otherwise, now, if we're in the middle of the Sahara, I need you to recognize that we probably won't have cell service. But, when we're in cities, when we're in towns, maybe when we're not when we're in the mountains. So the cell service is spotty, but it's there. So you can pay your cell provider $15 to $17 a day, depending on who you are with, for a travel plan. And your cell provider will allow you to roam using that. You're using your home data, which would allow you to get SMS messages and make regular phone calls or receive regular phone calls. What I do is I use an eSIM. So it's just a piece of software, an app on my phone, and I turn off my physical SIM card and I turn on the eSIM card. I've just started using GigSky. They are a company that it's affiliated themselves with travel agents, and they provide great service. So for an unlimited 14-day plan, which is probably what I'll get, it's $66, $67 Canadian. And there's a code there that you can use to join GigSky. And once you've installed GigSky, you basically just top it up with the plan that you're going to use. You don't have to keep reinstalling it, which is kind of nice. Where some of the others, you do have to keep reinstalling. Another one that I recommend is Airalo. If you've used that before, that's also another good option. They now have unlimited plans as well. So just a couple of options there. Just remember that when you're using an eSIM, you can't use any service that's affiliated with your phone number, which means you can't get phone calls or make phone calls on that number, and you can't get SMS messages. You can get iMessages, you can get Facebook messages, you can get WhatsApp, you can use Google Maps, you can use the web, all of those things. It's just SMS messages, text messages, and phone calls that are limited because you're shutting that service off. And if you have questions about that, I can help you. The other thing that's a little bit different is electricity. So it is 220 volts. So you will need a step-down converter for anything that isn't dual voltage. So most of us are probably plugging in our phones, maybe a hair device or a shaver, maybe a laptop or a computer. Most of those things, now not the hair devices, but most of those things, like your phone, like your laptop, are probably dual voltage. And you can tell by going in and looking at your phone, but every modern phone from like the last 5 or 8 years is dual voltage. So you'll be able to plug that in without a converter. So the converter is the thing that converts the electricity from 220 to 110, so you don't fry whatever you're plugging in. If you travel a lot and you do need a hair device of some variety, now there will be hair dryers in all the rooms, but if you need a straightener or what have you, on Amazon for cheap, you can get a dual voltage. I have a dual voltage hair straightener, for example, dual voltage curling iron. Then I don't have to worry about a converter. So I actually rarely need a converter because all of the things that I plug in are dual voltage. They can handle 110 or 220. What I always need when I'm traveling is an adapter, something to put on the end of my plug to be able to plug into the wall. And so you need a C or an E adapter. These are similar to the Europe ones, but you need adapters like these 2-prong ones to be able to plug in. I would recommend that you bring a short extension cord as well, or a small little, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a power block where you can plug in a few things. And just think about what you need to actually plug in. So you might want to recharge your extra phone battery, plug in your phone. I need to plug in my hearing aids. Those are the things that need to be plugged in at night, for example. So I usually bring a block like this that has a few plugs in the bottom and then a little power pack. So if you have questions about that, let me know. For those of you who have traveled with us before, we do communicate by WhatsApp during the trip. So this will be where we will give you updates or reminders about things throughout. So take your phone. Again, I'm sending this out. I'm sending the link out. So make sure you have WhatsApp on your phone. And please make sure you get signed into the group before we go. Everybody should be signed into the group. Even if you're sharing a room with someone, it's just easier if everybody has WhatsApp and has sorted that out before we get to destination. But this is how I will, it's often me that's providing reminders or, meeting times or updates or what have you. I might share links, a map link or something if people want it, let you know about reservations. If we made reservations for dinner, that's the kind of thing that will go in here. The second piece is our photo circle. So this is essentially a group photo album. So I'd prefer if we did not post photos in WhatsApp because people start to miss important information when we do that. Photo circle is where photos should go. And by the end of it, we will probably have 300 or 400 of each other's best photos all shared in Photo Circle, which is a lovely memory of our trip. So what I'd like you to do to get used to Photo Circle is download the app and then click this link to join. And once you've done that, I would like you to post a photo of you in the app, and then click add caption. So click the three dots and add caption and add your name. That'll be how we introduce each other in the app. So for example, there's Calvin and I. And so once I uploaded the photo, which I do with the add button down here. So I've got my photo uploaded. I click on it. There's three dots in the top corner here. I click on that, and in that menu, which you probably can't see, but that white blob is a menu. And in that menu is an add caption. You can add caption, add your names, and we can all introduce each other that way. So if you can all do that this week, that would be amazing. We're almost there. Just a couple of emergency contact numbers to make sure you have in your phone, mine and Kelvin's, and your Manulife travel insurance number. Please also make sure you've downloaded the Travel Aid app. So a couple of reminders. These are photos I took actually last year. This one is of the olive market in Casablanca. It was incredible. I have never seen so many olives in my life, and so fresh and so delicious. And this was a spice market. So just a checklist of things to do before you leave, just because I just threw a whole bunch of information at you. Register your flights with Manulife. Check into your flights 24 hours prior to departure. Download the Trip Plans app, the airline app. Get connected to the WhatsApp chat. If you're going to use an eSIM, get an eSIM. And the ArriveCan app is a good one to speed up your return to Canada if you want to. I always do it, but don't worry about it too much if you don't. This one, just make sure if you're going to use it that you get it working before you leave, because their verification, their two-factor, is if you're changing your password, is a text message. And if you're using eSIM, you can't get text messages, and then it becomes a whole thing. So if you're going to use AirCan or ArriveCan, please make sure that you do that from home. Here's a list of the apps that I've mentioned throughout. Really encourage you to download the ones that are applicable, but I have these on all my phone. I have actually a little a folder called Travel, and that's where I store all of these. And that is it. So I haven't seen many questions come up. So now's the time. Please put your questions in the chat box if you have any. And if not, just acknowledge that you don't have any. That way I'll know that I haven't missed anyone. And I know that'll take a few seconds. Well, I have a drink quickly. It's amazing how talking for an hour makes me out of breath. It's pretty sad. Oh. So I'm just looking to see if there's any questions. So far, I'm not seeing any, which is good news. There still are 8 of you on the call. So I am really excited. I loved Morocco when I was there last time, and it's so different from anywhere that I've been before. And I'm looking so forward to bringing all of you to Morocco with me this time. I'm excited to explore parts of the country that I've never been, and there's many parts. I didn't get to go to the Sahara last time. I was more in the north end, Chefchaouen and Tangier and that area, but I was in Casablanca, I was in Fez, I was in Marrakesh on my last trip, but the rest of the trip is really new, so I'm super excited. Declaration form to complete to enter Morocco. No, there is nothing that we need to do in advance. Charles, that's a good question. They will ask you questions at the passport control, but there was no customs form or anything that we need to complete. No immigration form either. Thank you, Annalise. Great, great, great. And I will send that out. I'll give everyone else a second. Mike and Robbie, Alexis and Paula. I'll just give you another minute. Awesome. So if there are no more questions, I'm just watching as we go. know that I will send this out to you. If you want to rewatch any parts of the video, click on the link you used to join me tonight, and the recording will be there as of now. So you'll be able to do that. You can fast forward through whatever you'd like to do. And I will send out the link to this PowerPoint so that you can, or this presentation, so that you can review any parts of it and click on the links and get all of that stuff as well. Well, I don't see any other questions. So given that, I'm going to say goodnight. And if and if there's, oh, Alexis, I can't wait to see you again. It's going to be so fun. And we have a really good group traveling. I think we're all going to get along famously. I know I've traveled with most of you, or I know most of you. There's a few of you that I don't know, and I'm really looking forward to getting to know, and I know Kelvin is as well. And so if there are no questions right now, I know there's other things that come up. Please just send me a note. You've all got my email address, or use the WhatsApp group. That also works. And then everybody will see the answers, because I'm sure if you've got the question, other people do as well. So looking forward so much to this trip with all of you. We leave in 3 weeks, believe it or not. And we'll see you on the 4th, if not before. Take care, everyone, and good night.